Over a number of years, I've been collecting different types of pocket knives, trying to find the ideal combinations that I can recommend to people and also just know about, just understand. And it's funny too, because now I'm starting to see designs come out that look incredibly similar to things that I've even done with my own modifications. This is no exception, except that this might be at a price point that I think is far more interesting to people. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, before we get discussing the Swisstech 11-in-1, I first want to talk about what I'm trying to do. Why am I even bothering purchasing these $20, not knockoff, but these adaptations of a pocket knife, right? From AliExpress or any other source. It's because the best tool on the market, which is the Swiss Army knife, still lacks in a few categories. It lacks in exactly 3 different categories. And that is, they don't come with pocket clips, they don't have locking implements, and they don't have a one-handed accessible blade. Those are the 3 major considerations, the 3 reasons why I'm always looking at these other options. But the thing about these, and that's what I want to start with, is they have certain aspects that are so compelling, it's damn near impossible to compete. First is compact, density, tool density. Let me just grab the Super Tinker here for a second. So this thing has a Phillips driver, it has a scissor, it has a bunch of blades and many, many other things that's been reviewed a billion times. This comes in at only 3 ounces, okay? And currently on Amazon is selling for $28. $28. I mean, most of the cheap, inexpensive, badly formed, cheap metal multi-tools and pocket knives on a lot of these websites are more expensive than that. So this also has a lifetime guarantee. This particular one is more than 30 years old and still functions great. Yeah, it could use a little lubricant, use a little cleaning, but generally speaking is in excellent shape. And they just take an absolute beating. And when all is said and done, you can send them back to Victorinox and you will still get their amazing warranty that lets you basically get everything repaired for a nominal fee. I don't know how you compete with that. You have to basically play in the other areas. You have to play with those 3 categories that they don't have, and you have to also be compelling on price. So that's what I've been looking for. And the nice thing, I think, is that in a lot of categories, and pretty much actually all 4 aspects, the Swisstech kind of ticks every box. In fact, this is the first one to tick all 4 boxes. So starting with price, this is $20. Pretty awesome. It has a pocket clip. It has a one-handed locking blade. And then on top of that, it has a compelling tool set. Scissors, check, excellent. It has a full hex bit driver. Oh yeah. It also has a locking saw on the outside. So you have a saw, you have scissor, you have a bit driver, you have a can opener, bot opener, flathead. You also have a very interesting pull cutter as well, which will probably help open up clamshell packaging in other boxes. So if we bring out the, where is it? If we bring out the Deluxe Tinker, no, that's the wrong one. If we bring out the, if we bring out something like, yeah, this is it. The Fieldmaster, this is a pretty comparative example, and these are like $45. So this is almost twice as much as this Swisstech. So we're in great shape here so far. Now, let's talk a little bit about the actual tools itself. So we have a straight blade. How's that gonna work for me? Let me go ahead and grab a piece of paper here. Oh, there we go. We'll use this manual. See how they did. Actually, pretty good. Nicely done. Actually, very good. Very well. Very good. All right, so they actually got it sharp. That's a surprise. Good stuff. How do they do on the saw? Actually, very good. Let me go ahead and pull out a similar... and pull out one of the best saws ever, right? The 91mm. Actually surprisingly good. It's definitely a pull saw versus a push and pull saw like they have on the Victorinox. And it is far cry better than what we will find on some of the cheaper designs, like this one. Now these are actually, I think this was 23. So this is actually more expensive, and it generally looks like it has a worse fit and finish. It does have an interesting inner tool set, but not as good. It's also heavier. So far, so good now. Now we go to the inside, and on first glance, it looks great, right? I've already tested the scissor, and I can tell you it's comparable to the Multiforce. That is a fantastic thing because it performed better than the Leatherman Wave scissors did. That's already a good thing. Now, here's where things got me thinking, what the heck were they doing? Notice that the bit driver doesn't lock. It's on the non-locking side. So they went ahead and they put it in the wrong orientation. The locking side is the one with the scissors, the can opener, and that flathead. Well, maybe the flathead needs it, but the other two do not need locks at all to function properly. Big mistake here. All they had to do was put this tool on the right side, and it would have been so much better. Like, way better. Like, infinitely better. And then, truthfully, I could say this would be a genuine recommended tool. Even with that, I think it's still probably compelling enough for me to recommend it for a couple of reasons. One, this is a much cheaper way to source those parts if you want to modify Leathermans like the Supertool 300. This locking mechanism will actually function inside a Supertool 300 or rebar or a Leatherman Bond, anything with those large frames. I'm sure it'll also work with the Charge and the older models as well. So it gives you that full hex bit driver in those models, so you don't have to buy a 3D printed one, you don't have to source one from another more expensive multi-tool. The scissors is the same deal. These are 5mm pivots, and they're going to work with those smaller Leatherman pivots, so you'll be able to source this scissor for your Supertool 300 or rebar and so on. Fantastic. That's a really good, compelling reason to get this if you're planning on modifying with it. Or if you like this package, all you're going to need to do is take it apart and reorient the tools in the proper orientation with the bit driver on the locking side and these tools over here. It's a bit of an annoyance, I will admit. But in truth, at $20, I'll live with it. I really will. And maybe it'll give you a little bit of experience playing around with pocket knives and multi-tools, and it's a very low effort mod for high return on investment. So $20 for this. This might be the first true competitor to the Victorinox that I have found in the budget realm. Genuinely. Outside of that one flaw. And it's kind of embarrassing too. I'm going to bring in the Leatherman here for a second. They came out with the T4 about, I want to say 2 years ago. Maybe it's even 3 years ago now. And on first glance, it was really compelling. It had a lot of compelling features, such as having one-handed access to absolutely every tool on the inside. And the scissors actually perform pretty good, honestly. If we're comparing it to all the other scissors in Leatherman's lineup, it's pretty good. It's not going to beat the Victorinox, but more than reasonable. The issue was the price. It was already too expensive when it was released at $59. Now it's $69, so it's $70 for this. And that price is even more egregious when you compare it to their cheapest Leatherman plier-based multi-tool, the Leatherman Bond, a bolster. The Leatherman Bolster, which is a Costco exclusive. This thing is currently running between $40 and $45. For a 25-year warranty, comes with a sheath, and it has all the internal implements that you can find on the Leatherman Sidekick, while still having spring-loaded pliers. And did I mention the one-handed blade? This thing only weighs 6 ounces. So at the point when you get too heavy with some of these other options, you may as well just go with the Leatherman Bolster specifically. This tool right here, in fact, this is the Rake LD42. Pretty awesome package. I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty good package. But this thing weighs 7 ounces. It does have 12C27 blade steel, which is good. But 7 ounces, I mean, at that point, you may as well just carry a plier-based multi-tool, right? I mean, you're basically looking at the same weight. And price-wise, this is actually more expensive than the Leatherman. Craziness. So I find this whole thing fascinating. Meanwhile, you have the slow and steady wins the race Victorinox, which, by the way, outsells all other knife manufacturers in the entire world combined. Okay, if you combined every other knife sales in existence, they still cannot even come close to topping the amount that is sold of Swiss Army knives every year. That is not an exaggeration. That is an actual number. We're talking millions of these sold every year. For good reason, because they're damn near unbeatable for the price. But because of the economies of scale, they're able to produce something super high quality that they can then get to everyone. And this will always be a mainstay in the EDC community. But it's nice to know that there's some things that are starting to show up that are at least reasonable options for people. These are a couple of them. This is a very not reasonable option, but is still very, very cool. This is the up knife, by the way. I'm impressed, but also very disappointed. I think that had they put it in the orientation I showed in my modification video, where I showed you how to turn this into a multi-force into one of these knives, if they've just put it in the right orientation, this would have been super good. As is, it's fine. I just think that they just missed the mark a little bit. What you're going to need in order to fix it is a pair of T8 Torx, not security, just any T8 Torx pair, and you can unscrew these pivots and flip them around, and you should be able to have something much, much better. But still, well done. Swisstech actually produced something that I can genuinely recommend, and is much more compelling than the other $20 options. These other two, which are both heavier and a little bit more expensive, actually, at least in this one, they're not as good. They just don't have as good a tool set. This one doesn't lock at all, although it's a decent tool set. And this one, just the fit and finish is just not very good. And it doesn't even have a bit driver. So there you go. As of right now, the Swisstech 11-in-1 is the only one of these off-branded pocket knives. Even the T4 doesn't make the cut. I would say if you're going to pick one, I would pick one of these. $20, $45. I actually think this is actually pretty good. In fact, all of the rake Swiss Army knives are pretty solid, but the one-handed one is much, much better. And then if you're going to go elsewhere, get a Victorinox, or maybe try to see if you can pick up one of these bolsters from Costco. That's my suggestion at this point. Well done. That's it, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I'll put a link to as many of these things as I can down in the description, but skip this unless you're absolutely sure that you want that one-hand capability. Just my recommendation. Thank you guys. Talk again soon.